We'll cover some of my motion for summary judgment.
Great.
A lot of material obviously being the same.
You can move that out if you want.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Sure, you can move it to wherever you want so that it doesn't interfere with the video. Just watch the cord because it'll unplug at some point. Okay. Yes, sir.
May it please the court. Last week, I watched a young man and a statesman by the name of Barack Obama traverse the country carrying a message of open government, transparency in government, and responsive government. All of my life, I have pursued these ideals as an assistant attorney general, as a reporter, and now as a civil rights activist. I have been committed for doing so by the mayor of Nashua, who served 30 years on the executive council. What brings me here today, with all the earnestness at my command, is that we have not seen that kind of transparency in our government in this situation. So, as the court has requested that I will address the Franconia situation first, I will now proceed to do that.
Thank you.
The first issue in Franconia is the personnel file and all of its component parts, i.e. performance reviews and annual evaluations and citizen complaints, responses and personnel matters that may reflect on his capacity to perform as a peace officer. Okay. I have not requested to review any of Officer McKay's deeply personal documents or issues that may be in that file. The petitioner has not requested to review any personal issues that pertain to his family. The only issues that we seek are performance-based issues. Now, what the petitioner had done was to present a scenario wherein the petitioner could review certain documents, mark them as desirable, and that if the defendants had a problem with these documents or didn't want them released, at that point we would visit it upon the court. The court would conduct, well, not exactly a camera review, but a review, and then the court would issue a judgment on it at that point. And pending the court decision, if there were to be any production of the disputed documents, that would be a criminal penalty of contempt of court. That was just one idea that the petitioner had, so that New Hampshire could give its citizens more rights to know about the people that they pay salaries to govern.
Do I understand from the pleadings, and again I've just drawn this from the pleadings, that's all I've had to work with so far, that the town did produce McKay's personnel records with portions redacted? Is that a correct statement?
They did produce some of them with portions redacted, Your Honor. But the key here, again, that goes toward the Truitt versus Department of State issue and the Keene versus NASA issue, which is that the mere production of these documents at some point in time down the road does not in any way absolve the defendants of any liability in this regard. Throughout this whole case, Your Honor, it has been my practice to engage in some sort of a talismanic kabuki dance in order to get anything from the government, and it shouldn't be that way. So what we have, in addition to the late production, the other thing I'd like to point out to the court that is very germane here is the fact that my initial response, or rather the government's initial response to me as petitioner, was to flat out deny me. And it's my contention that obviously that's wrong. And I provided the supporting documents in the file that indicate that Sally Small is the clerk of courts. She flat out said, no, you get nothing. Attorney Mullen followed suit with that, and his first letter to me said, no, you get nothing. Go pound salt or go pound sand. You get nothing. And that's unlawful. It was an unlawful response. So there we have ab initio, a violation of RSA 91A in spirit and letter. So subsequent to that point, you are correct, Your Honor, I did receive some documents. However, these documents, as I've supplemented the file, as you'll see, contain entire pages of blacked out performance reviews. It's my contention as petitioner that those are not private matters. We're giving the town money, our tax dollars go, so that this man can carry a badge, wear a gun and carry a badge, and enforce the law. We're entitled to know what his performance reviews are at a minimum. And I'll let the court look at the documents and review them and decide accordingly. see if we have the next. Issue 2. I did want to note, just to finish that off, I did note in my brief there was an issue of the Vaughn Index versus other items, but I clarified that, and I'm saying that the Vaughn Index was never offered until way too late for them to escape liability on that issue alone. That should have been offered right from the start, and it was not.
That would be under your failure to disclose argument? Yes. Okay.
And of course, I provided examples in the memoranda, too, of the defendants have claimed that I only have some type of vague basis for stating that Officer McKay was unfit. However, there have been reams of publications of materials and affidavits that I filed with the court that show that Officer McKay may very well have been unfit, and this is the reason why, in fact, State Representative Gionnet is against naming any part of the roadway after Officer McKay. So turning to the next point, on the 150 responses to the Franconia Recovery and Reconciliation Committee, it's my understanding that the spokesperson for this committee is indeed Mark. I'm sorry.
I've got this cold that you're going to have to bear with me on, so go ahead.
Actually,
I've got plenty of cough drops up here for anybody that needs them.
I was going to say I have a few as well. Some of the King Cast reporters have some, so I don't know.
Yep, I have plenty.
All right. That might be the
150 responses.
Yes. The responses, again, were sent to the Franconia Recovery and Reconciliation Committee. I have learned that the spokesperson for that committee is Martha McLeod, who, of course, is married to a defendant in this case, Richard McLeod, who is a Franconia select person.
Oh,
okay. The problem I have is that the committee, at one point, has said that they were going to issue these responses. They were going to type them up and they were going to issue them wholesale to the public, just so that people could know what was on their, their understanding, what was on people's minds, okay? But then as soon as this litigation popped up, bam, they went undercover. We've never seen them, okay? I have been in contact with several people on that committee, one of whom is president right now, who feels that these things should be made public. Now, at this point, we understand the judge that you have no jurisdiction to order them.
Well, that was going to be my question. At this point, the committee isn't a member of this action.
Right. And as what I'm getting at here is that the committee is certainly quasi-legislative. It's quasi-governmental, given that Martha McLeod is a state representative, and given that she is the spokesperson. And given that she definitely favors Bruce McKay in terms of naming a roadway after him. So I think all those things would really inform the court that this is almost a state actor, okay? And I think what I'm looking for in this instance, Your Honor, is a standing order that when those forms are given to the town at a minimum, at that point they are certainly public documents and I am certainly entitled to see them.
Right.
Redacted only for name and address, that sort of thing, as I've indicated.
I understand your position.
Thank you. Moving on to the next items. These are the Fox Hill responses that the petitioner had requested from Chief Montminy. The problem with Chief Montmany's initial response to me, Your Honor, is that there was no timeline given, and he asked for overtime pay in order to get the job done. Nowhere within the face of the statute does it indicate that that's permissible. The statute is very clear. He has 5 days to respond. He could tell me, he could provide the documents if he has them, and if he does not, then he has to give me a reasonable time frame in which he will give me the documents. Okay. He did none of those things. He said, if you want to give us some overtime money, we can get them. If you want to give us some overtime money, we can get them sooner. I didn't ask that. I told him to just give me the documents. 2-3 months went by. I never got any. Okay. And just now, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, I got some documents. But the problem with that, Your Honor, is that it's very insidious. They never gave me any of the documents